So just listen to this, because I've egged it so much that you might fear I've over-egged it, but I don't think I have. I think this is quite brilliant, and it was written in response to our clip, actually, about the weird dislike of Prince Harry and his wife and where it comes from. And a lot of people are unhappy with the observation that her ethnicity is one of the most obvious reasons to distinguish between her and other female members of the royal family. But so the Twitter account is called Royal Suitor, and as with so much online, I don't know what's real and what's not. But the byline on this is RS Lock. Pay attention. This is really important. It's only a 3-minute read, and I'll share it with you now, because I felt pennies dropping as never before when I read this. So we'll start at the top again. I might do my Jack and Ori voice for this. All right, I won't. Imagine a society founded on a class structure with the brackets white, close brackets, and the brackets are important, British royal family at the top as determined by birth and by blood, right? Don't have to imagine it. That's what we've got. It's not a matter of opinion. That's a matter of historical fact. A biracial woman enters the top of the pyramid by marriage, negating both the birth and blood requirements society had previously been told were preconditions. Because she lacks those prerequisites, she's considered unworthy. Because she's proud of her own heritage and regards herself as equal to others at the top of the pyramid, she's considered ungrateful. The town criers called out from the lower tiers of the pyramid, "I've never met her, but I look at her and I don't think I'd like you in real life," said one. "We Brits prefer true royalty to fashion royalty," proclaimed another. These are direct quotes from prominent columnists and commentators. Shouts of "she just doesn't speak our language" came whistling on the wind. But at the top of the pyramid, the cries were met with silence. So she's under attack in some fairly horrible ways, and they expected perhaps to get some support and protection from the boss, or even the brother. Were they too far away from it? Were they too disconcerted to know what to reply? Or did they use the cacophony from below to muffle the echo of their own whispers as they murmured the same things? The loudest gossip monger was impossible to ignore as he oafishly admonished her to go back to America. There was a brooch, I think, worn by one of the royals at an early meeting with the Duchess of Sussex, which I should double check the facts before I describe it. But have a look yourself. After years of being told that she was unworthy and ungrateful, the newlywed took the crier's advice and returned from whence she came. Despite one tattler's audacious cautions not to force her husband to, and she quotes again, "choose between you and us," he did in fact choose his wife, just as he did the day he married her, much to their chagrin. Ironically, though society spurned her placement at the top of the pyramid, when she leaves with her husband, for some, it calls into question whether the pyramid's peak is still something to aspire to. God, this is good. Whether those at the top are truly elite. Whether blood and birth really are prerequisites. Their departure is considered a rejection of the pyramid as a construct, thus a rejection of the society itself. For others, it was a necessary repudiation and confirmed that just as they suspected, she was NOCD, which translates as not our class, dear. And remember, the Duchess of Cambridge took an awful lot of jip for A, not being an aristocrat, and B, having a mother who had once worked as an air hostess, but she towed the line and fitted in. Final paragraph. Still, that wasn't enough. For society to maintain order, she must be reclassified and her elite status conferred by marriage removed. But the society is trapped in a conundrum. Her husband and their children are at the top of the pyramid by birth and by blood. Now, I'd remind you, this was written before today's announcements about patronages and honorary military appointments being removed from the Duke and Duchess. Her husband and their children are at the top of the pyramid by birth and by blood. Removing titles, military honours and patronages won't remove her from the top of the pyramid. The only thing that will reclassify her is to remove her from her husband. And the society has been working diligently, though unsuccessfully, to that end since the day they learned that Harry and Meghan were a couple. Do you know, I don't even know the real identity of the person that wrote that, but it seems to me to be the most insightful, informed and plausible explanation of matters royal that I have ever read in my life. And while you won't be surprised to learn that I don't have a spare room full of royal biographies or royal histories, I do read the papers every day, and I try, for obvious reasons, to read stuff that I don't like and papers that I don't agree with. And I have never read anything even half as good as that. Partly because it makes absolutely perfect sense. Partly because it retrospectively explains so many things that I have been baffled and confused by. Indeed, it was inspired, that little piece, by the phone-in we did on Monday, asking what on earth is it that she's supposed to have done wrong? And partly because it's so prescient. Remember, this was written on Monday. Today is Friday. I don't think that qualifies as a scoop either while we're here. But that was written on Monday. Today is Friday. It has literally just been announced that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are to lose their honorary military appointments and royal patronages. And this was written 5 days ago. Removing titles, military honours and patronages won't remove her from the top of the pyramid. The only thing that will reclassify her is to remove her from her husband. And the society has been working diligently, though unsuccessfully, to that end since the day they learned that Harry and Meghan were a couple. I think, and obviously my natural immodesty pains me slightly to say this, I think that's among the most powerful words you've ever heard on this programme. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'm not sure that you can argue with a single syllable.
So, just imagine this for a second. A society that claims to run on tradition, birthright and bloodlines suddenly gets shaken because one woman, yes, one woman, steps into the picture. And not just any woman, but a biracial, independent, outspoken woman named Meghan, who didn't ask for permission to exist, didn't bow down to old prejudices, and most certainly didn't dim her light just to make others feel more comfortable in their dusty pyramid of privilege. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. For centuries, the British monarchy sat right at the tip-top of this so-called pyramid, acting like the gatekeepers of class and purity of lineage. But the second Meghan joined Harry at the summit, without those so-called prerequisites, they suddenly decided the rules had changed. It's like inviting someone to a game of Monopoly, but the moment they start winning you shout, "Actually, we don't play with hotels anymore. Pack your bags." Let's not dance around it. Much of the hostility Meghan faced has deep roots in her race, her confidence, and the fact that she wasn't willing to play the obedient royal doll. The media tried to paint her as difficult, ungrateful, and foreign. Headlines sounded like parodies. She closed her own car door. Outrageous. Honestly, if Meghan sneezed, you know the Daily Mail would run, "Meghan Markle attacks British air supply." And where was the family support? Nowhere. Crickets. Instead of shutting down the nastiness, the palace often chose silence, which, let's be real, speaks louder than words. In some cases, their silence felt like approval, like they were happy to let the tabloids do the dirty work. Think back to that infamous moment when a royal showed up to greet Meghan wearing a brooch that was basically a walking dog whistle of racism. Or when prominent columnists literally told her to go back to America. This wasn't subtle. It was open hostility. And through it all, Harry stood firm, choosing his wife again and again, just as he did the day they got married. That's called loyalty, and clearly it's something parts of that institution still don't quite understand. But here's the kicker. Meghan and Harry's exit didn't just cause drama, it exposed the cracks in the entire system. Because if someone can walk away from your exclusive pyramid and thrive on their own terms, what does that say about the pyramid itself? Suddenly, the whole structure looks less like tradition and more like an outdated social club with membership rules written in invisible ink. And, of course, when Meghan left, the spin doctors went into overdrive. She wasn't royal enough. She wasn't grateful enough. She wasn't our class, dear. But let's be real. What they really meant was, she made us confront uncomfortable truths we'd rather keep hidden. Even stripping away Harry and Meghan's patronages, military honours and titles doesn't change the fact that their bloodline and their children are still at the top by birth. The institution can't erase that. The only way would be to separate Meghan from Harry. And trust me, the tabloids have been working overtime trying to engineer that narrative from day one. Too bad for them. Harry's not going anywhere. So here's the truth. Meghan didn't weaken the monarchy. She revealed its insecurity. She proved that dignity, humanity and authenticity can outshine dusty titles. And Harry proved that being a good husband and father matters more than being the palace's puppet. And let's face it, this whole saga is like a reality check for the royals. You can't build your image on being the model family when the one couple who actually shows love, compassion and unity becomes your biggest threat. So next time you see a tabloid foaming at the mouth about Meghan, just remember, if she were truly irrelevant, they wouldn't be writing about her every 5 minutes. She's not their problem. She's their obsession. And that, my friends, says it all. That's it for today's Sussexes Spotlight. If you're tired of the negative spin, if you want to hear the truth about Harry and Meghan without the tabloid poison, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and join our growing community. Trust me, the pyramid may be shaky, but this family's love, rock solid.